and welcome back to the Way of Truth through Torah. And today we have got a really full day, and we're going to be talking about dinosaurs and the ark and the nephiliym and the calendar and Babel. And we're not going to get to everything this morning. What we're going to have to do is split it up. So we're going to go, we'll end it, and then we'll get on into everything else this afternoon. So you'll be seeing two different programs today, guys, for those live streamers out there. And of course, by this afternoon, everybody will be full of brownies and all that sugar and the pastas and everything that we've got down there, the beans. And so everybody will be asleep. So you're going to hear snoring and me talking, okay? Which is the norm, right?
Yes.
I love you, Seth. Oh. Okay, so we are going to start out. Today's Torah portion is what? Noach, right? So we're going to be studying about Noach and everything that he did. And you know what the Bible says? It actually says that he was one of the most righteous men, just like Enoch. So do y'all remember that show that came out about Noach, and he was mean and a drunk? And you remember that one? It was an awful show. I did watch it because it was about the ark. It had, oh gosh, I can't even remember the...
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. It had Russell Crowe. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I was like, they are so portraying him to be something that he was not. So even the term righteous, what does that mean?
Righteous is to guard and to do all the commands that you has commanded us.
To guard and do them. Mm-hmm. So that description and that, what we use is the first, I don't know how to make that stop. The right of first mention, and the definition for righteousness is in Deuteronomy 6:25. So you're going to hear us repeat it all the time so much that Seth has it memorized. So I can point and shoot. Deuteronomy, righteousness. And he can tell you exactly what it is. So it's our righteousness. We have to have righteousness. It's our righteousness when we obey and guard and do everything that y'all tells us. And so let us start. We're going to start in 6:4 of Genesis. And for those of you who are in the Scriptures Bible, it is going to be on page 6. And if you don't have a Scriptures Bible and you would like one, please messenger us and we will send it to you free of charge. No shipping, no handling, no nothing. Okay? We'll just send it out to you. Mm-hmm. That's just part of our ministry. Okay. Verse 4. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to start out with something controversial right off the bat, aren't we? The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward. And when the sons of Elohim came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahweh was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Guys, Abba, who created everything on this earth, was brokenhearted at what he saw us do. What do you think he's thinking today?
Cool.
What do you think he is? It's as in the days of Noach, isn't it?
Yep.
We're back to where we were 5,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Is it about that long ago? So we're going to stop at this point. Look at this, we're already stopping. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go into the book of, we're going to go into Jubilees 5. Does everybody have a Jubilees?
Yes.
What does the word Jubilees mean?
50.
Yes, 50. And so when you're going through Jubilees, and I don't know if y'all have done the same thing, and I'm going to bet you have, but every time it mentions the Jubilee that they're in, I go and I multiply it by 50. What year was it? How many years since the flood? And so I did that, and I'm still doing it because I skipped some parts. But we're those that dig deep. We want to know, what is it, Ashton? The rest of the story?
Yeah.
That's the rest of the story.
And that, friends, is the rest of the story. And that was Paul Harvey. You know, he made a joke about Mahaya.
Really?
Yeah. You've never heard his Mahaya joke? Should I tell a joke? Sure. I mean, that's what preachers do, right? But we're not preachers. We'll save that for later. I'll tell y'all at lunch. Okay. We are in Jubilees. And guys, Jubilees was written by Moshe. And it was in the original scriptures. It was removed. So,
Dispensational movement
yes, yes.
in the 1800s.
Okay, we're gonna start in 5, and we're starting in 1. And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves women of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were nephiliym. And iniquity increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And iniquity increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of the men was thus evil continually. And Yahweh looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its order. And all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he had created. But, I love his buts, right? All of his buts are ifs and ands. Oh, it's the rest of the story. But Noach found grace before the eyes of Yahweh. And against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth. He gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion, and he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and are kept separate. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword, and be removed from under heaven. And guys, there are actually 3 different levels of the Nephilim. There's the nephiliym, there's the nephiliym, the Eliod,
Elohim.
Okay, and is there also the Eloid? And we're going to get into that. But there's different levels. So I guess the further away from the angels, they became a little bit less angelic, or with the angel qualities. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword and removed from under heaven. And he said, my ruach will not always abide on man, for they are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And we went through this last week, but you live streamers didn't see it because we couldn't live stream. Our internet was out of whack. But 120 years, yes sir.
6,000 years.
It's 6,000 years. So it is 100, so it could be 6,000 years, but do you hear of many people making it over 120 now? No. So 120 years is like the limit, but you take 120 jubilees, and this is what Yah is telling them. I will only put up with y'all for 6,000 years. So 120 times the 50 gives us 6,000. And 6,000 is what? 6 days you work. The 7th day, we go into the millennial reign, and we get to rest with our Yah. And guess who doesn't get to rest with us, right? Because he's bound up. Satan. Satan's bound up for 1,000 years. That's going to give everyone rest. Can you even imagine? Oh, the pollution, the imaginations that he corrupts, the Nephilim. I don't see that they're going to be bound up. Will they be bound up as well? Have y'all read anything of that? But Hasatan is, and he's their ruler. So maybe they're without a leader. Maybe they're not too smart, right? So 6,000 years. 9. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other until they all fell by the sword and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers, which were the fallen angels, were witnesses of their destruction. And after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all of those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahweh. Make sure I'm not reading too far. I'm going to do one more. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged not according to all their wickedness. So this is the first part of Jubilees, and let us now go into Enoch. In the book of Enoch, and guess what? Enoch was not included in the first scriptures, was it?
It was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
It was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it was not included, but it was not supposed to be included because Abba told Enoch, this is not for this current generation, right? What does he tell, for those of you who've never read the book of Enoch, it is for this generation. It is for the end time generation. This is what Abba said. He said it's the word of the blessing of Enoch, how he blessed the elect and the righteous. Again, the righteous are those who guard and obey Abba's commands. He blessed the elect and the righteous who were to exist in the time of trouble, rejecting all the unrighteous and wicked. And Enoch, a righteous man who with Elohim answered and spoke while his eyes were open, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens. And in Scripture, one of the shortest descriptions of anyone about Enoch. Enoch he walked with Abba, he was no more.
It's mentioned in the New Testament also.
He is. The New Testament refers back to Enoch because Enoch was righteous. Moshe was righteous. Enoch's son Methuselah was righteous. He followed in his father's footsteps. So let's go and see what Enoch is talking about in 7:7. So we're studying. We want to understand who these nephiliym are because it says they were before the flood, but it also says they were after the flood. Boy, we're going to also find out what was not also after the flood, which if you go to the Creation Museum, it's sitting there in the museum, I understand. I haven't been there. I wanted to go, but I don't know if I want to go now. Okay, Enoch 7:7. And we're going to read through Enoch 7:15. In 7:7 it says, then they swore all together. I'm going to step back a little bit because I want you to hear the whole thing that was going on. In 7:1, it happened after the sons of man had multiplied in those days that the daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the watchers, the sons of heaven, beheld them, they became enamored with them, saying to each other, come, let us select for ourselves women from the progeny of men, and let us beget children. Guys, what were the angels not able to do? They were watchers. What were they not able to do?
Mess with people.
They couldn't mess with people. They were to watch. Listen, they were sent here to watch over us, to make sure we were taken care of, that everything was okay. They were not able to procreate. They were not designed to procreate. And so in order for them to procreate, they had to leave their first estate. They could not go back into the kingdom. You understand that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let us select for ourselves women from the progeny of man, and let us beget children. They wanted to be like Abba. Let's create children. Let's create man. And then their leader, Shamayaza, and guys, normally we do not sit around, we do not talk about the names of these fallen angels or the names of little g gods. But in order to get through this study, we are going to study what Abba has put in Scripture. So their leader, Shamayaza, said to them, I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the performance of this enterprise, and that I alone shall suffer for such a grievous crime. He knew right off the bat that what he was doing was totally against Yah's will. He said, I'm afraid I'm going to be the only one that gets in trouble. But they answered him and they said, we all swear and we bind ourselves by mutual expectations that we will not change our intention. Would you go to Jude 1, and I think 6. But execute our projected undertaking. In this, they all swore together. They bound themselves by mutual execrations, and their whole number was 200, who descended upon Ardis, which is the top of Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon is the word for the curse. The curse. And that mountain, therefore, was called Hermon. And actually, it's a CH, so it's Hermon. Mm-hmm. Someone can say that much better than me. Because they had sworn upon it and they bound themselves by mutual curses. That's what an execration is. Execration is a mutual curse. Now, these are the names of their chiefs. Shemayaza, who was their leader, Urakabaramael, and it's okay if I mess these names up because we don't care about them. Akia Biel, Tamiel, Ramael. Guys, these are all names that are ending with El, of Abba. He created them. Dan-el, Azkael, Sarachniel, Asael, Armars, Batraal, Anaim, Zavabi, Sambaviel, Erdael, Terrell, Yamayael, Erazaal. These were the perfects of the 200 angels, and these were the prefects, the leaders of the 200 angels, and the remainder were all with them. So all 200 came together in agreement to do this. Then they took women, each choosing for himself whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, divining of roots and trees. And the women conceiving brought forth the nephiliym, and they bore to them 3 races. First, the great nephiliym. The Nephilim brought forth nephiliym, and the Nephilim brought forth the Eliud. But Ashton, there is another place that it's spelled Elium. There is.
I think it's in Enoch.
Well, and that could be, so if it's with the it could be plural.
Oh, there it is.
Because anytime you see the I-M on the end, it's going to make it a plural word. And they existed, increasing in power according to their greatness, whose stature was each 300 cubits. Hold on. How big is a cubit?
18 inches.
Put your arm up
18
there.
inches.
It's 18 inches.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
1 foot.
it's so put your arm up here. So my arm's shorter. So it's a man's arm from his elbow to the tip of his middle finger. And the Roman cubit was, I think, a little bit longer than the Hebrew cubit. I'm not real sure. But a cubit being 18 inches would make a 300 cubit man 450 feet tall. I wish I had the pictures of like the dinosaur that they found in Saudi Arabia that stretches across, is it 600 miles?
Fish.
He's got a fish in his mouth. It's a dinosaur. You can see his back is like this. So there is a man, he's called the Fossil, is it Fossil University or, goodness, I wish I had come a little bit better prepared on him. But he has done DNA samples on a lot of these rocks in the big mountains, and there's human DNA in them. Fallen angel and human. So is it too much to say that these giants were all killed? I'm going to tell you something. The dinosaurs were not created by Abba Yah. They were created by what? The Nephilim. And were there any on the ark? No. Jurassic Park didn't get on the ark. They didn't make it. Okay? There was no Raptosauruses and Brontosauruses. These are things that were created by the co-joining of animals. What did we read earlier in Genesis? It said everything was corrupted. The fish, the horses, the birds, everything was corrupted. Everything. Hercules, it said it created the men of old, the men of fame, the mighty men. Zeus, Hercules. I'm going to tell you, and this is my opinion, okay? This is not scriptural. This is my opinion. There's nothing scriptural that backs this, but it's my opinion that many of these little g gods that existed came from these Nephilim. They were big, they were giant, they were mighty. There was one that was like a monkey god.